Well guys, if there's one thing that we love as raid players, it is free stuff. And Vallaryn is usually pretty good about this. All of the promo codes that we're getting, login champions, and this is exactly the topic today. We have a new login champion coming up. We're going to take a closer look at it. We have already a good idea of what the skills are like, so the whole list is out. We have to of course wait for proper testing and also the multipliers, but it's already worth looking at it and seeing what we're going to get. Now the good thing is, once that this is going to be released, it works the same as we had with Michelangelo and also with Skeletor, so simply logging into the game regularly will give you the champion, but we're going to take a closer look at it and see if he's actually any good. Our upcoming logging champion is called Vallaryn the Equalizer, and he is a magic champion in the Undead faction. And we're going to take a bit of a look at him and also discuss where exactly you would use him, and what's pretty crucial for that is his passive. Now we have an active effect here where you have a cooldown reduction that is inbuilt on your own side. So when the champion loses a lot of its HP, you have a cooldown reduction coming in, which can be quite nice depending on where exactly you want to use him, but it's also causing a problem for some areas, and that's what we're going to discuss later. You have an additional effect on the passive where if somebody on the opponent's side gets healed by an active skill, you are actually attacking with your A1. So this is pretty neat, because at this point when you're looking at the A1 that he's running here, he has a heal reduction that he applies. He has a double hit and a pretty high chance to apply that heal reduction. So it's a pretty nice counter to whenever there's a lot of heal happening on the other side and your opponent has tons of sustain there. Every single time that a champion gets healed with an active skill, you are proccing the counter attack once per turn, but you have now a chance to just make sure that heals are becoming more difficult. That could be neat when you're talking, let's say, about, I mean, even Nether Spider, for example, where we're talking about heal reductions, where you can make certain things happen, but also any other area where healing on the opponent's side is a big problem. You have also a double attack, so you might be able to utilize him a bit in Fire Knight, depending on where you are exactly with that. But there are certainly a lot of areas where heal reduction comes in quite handy. When talking Grim Forest, for example, and you have currently trouble dealing with mimics, then he is another good option that you can use for your lineup there. Looking at his active abilities, so looking at the A3, you're attacking one opponent 2 times, and before attacking you're removing all debuffs from the champion and you're swapping HP with the target. So in an ideal world, you would, in an arena setup or maybe on a wave somewhere, you would actually come in, be pretty low already, you attack an opponent, you swap HP, and then you kill that target. Generally speaking, it sounds kind of cool. We have similar champions obviously already in the roster. The problem that I always have with these HP swap mechanics is that it feels extremely situational and not something that you can properly plan for. Maybe when you're playing around with certain sets and you're immediately, you know, getting yourself nuked low, you have an unkillable buff in there, you're starting to swap things over and then kill the target. You know, there's certain edge scenarios and at least theory crafting where you can get a lot of value out of it. But I've had champions like this in my lineup. I've never really used them regularly, and it just feels more gimmicky than being a reliable tool to use. But we'll see how it actually works out and if you can get some proper use out of it. For now, I have to say the A3 doesn't really knock my socks off. When we're looking at the A2, you attack all enemies. That's always neat, and you have a chance of applying a weaken and a leech debuff on the opponents for 2 turns. So just looking at the general kick, you're playing a lot with heals, you're playing a lot with the heal reduction, with HP swapping, and especially looking at the A1, one of the first things that comes to everybody's mind is they're thinking about the Cursed City and Amanus as a boss, because now you have another heal reduction that you could use there. If you have more gain already or you're using a Venom Mage, then this might be something, you know, that just adds another champion to your lineup that can do that and might be able to do it better. But the problem here is really that on the passive, whenever you're losing 30% of your HP, then you're getting that cooldown reduction, and that of course triggers the big nuke from Amanus, and this might just get your entire team wiped pretty quickly. So there's currently a bit of a debate going on whether or not he can be useful in that area or not. I think it highly depends on what other tools you have available, but it's certainly going to be something that's not easy to use there because the passive is screwing with this fairly reliably. So it seems that right now for the Cursed City he's essentially a no-no. He will be quite strong on some bosses in the Doom Tower where you can use it. You can also then utilize him against mimics in the Grim Forest, as I already said earlier. But generally speaking, I am honestly not really all that, yeah, not... I'm a little disappointed with this one. We had some fantastic login champions, and some where I really thought, okay, I'm going to get mad value out of them. This one, I'm looking at the A3. I think it's fairly gimmicky. I don't really know where to properly use it. Maybe there will be some scenarios they pop up. The champion is free after all, but I personally think that right now, this is going to be somebody that ends up in a vault, and that's basically it. If you are very early in your raid career, you don't have a reliable heal reduction, different story. Then you'll be able to use him, as I said, Doom Tower, Grim Forest, couple of other bosses as well. So you will get value out of him, and you might even be able to use him thanks to the Weekend and the Leech, maybe even in Hydra, for example. It's a bit of a stretch, but hey, it depends on your lineup. So he is free, he is a legendary. Would I book him at this point? Probably not. We'll have to wait for some testing and see what the multipliers are and how he works out in a practical sense. But just looking at the abilities at this point, I think that guy is going to end up in a vault pretty quickly for me. And I just don't see a scenario in which I would actually build him and, more importantly, sacrifice some of my legendary tombs and books to get his skills up there. So right now, I think he's pretty meh. Now I'm fairly curious what you guys think about him. I was disappointed when I saw it. When I heard new login champion is coming up, I was actually excited. I saw the A1 with the heal reduction. I was like, okay, this could be actually really good for the Cursed City, where I would personally put him to use, but the passive is making this really, really difficult. And outside of that, I don't see a lot of use for him, at least in my lineup. I have a Marshall, I have Morgaine, I have other heal reduction champions that I can use for mimics, so I don't have a shortage of heal reduction champions there. Besides that, I just don't see why I would build him if you can't use him for the boss in Cursed City hard. Now, as I already said, if you're a little bit earlier in your account, that this might be exactly what you need, because heal reduction, and especially reliable ones, are sometimes pretty hard to come by. So if you're struggling against mimics, if you're having trouble in the Doom Tower, and you need somebody with heal reduction, then he could just be the answer to all of your problems. But if you are already in the late game in raid, I think this is just going to somebody that ends up in a vault, and I just don't see him being built. Especially these days, I have so many good legendary champions, and the one resource that I'm struggling with is having books to completely book out the skills. So I don't see myself using any of those on him, since I feel there's better alternatives for me to use them on. But I'm kind of curious what you guys think about him. Is this somebody that you think he's going to be useful for you? And what area would you actually use him in? When you read that kit and you look at the skills that he has, what jumps to mind for you where you feel, okay, this is actually going to be an area where he's going to benefit me a lot, and where he might be useful for me? Let me know in the comments. Really curious what you guys have to say there. There's a lot of discussion going on right now where his heal reduction is going to be useful, which areas to use them in, so feedback is always welcome. And keep in mind, if you made it to the end of the video, give the video a thumbs up on YouTube. We'd really appreciate that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.